Our story begins on the banks of the Nile, where the river's gentle song has lulled civilizations to life for millennia. The year is 2550 BC, and the pharaoh is deeply asleep in his palace, dreaming of a time when he will join the gods on the other side of the sky. But dreams cannot build the great city of Achaemenum. That task falls to men like Shen, whose day begins before the sun crests over the eastern hills, and ends after the moon has climbed into the velvet sky. Shen is a limestone laborer, one of thousands who haul stone for the building of temples and tombs under the watchful eye of a foreman. His back is bent from years of hauling heavy stones, and his hands are calloused, each line and curve telling a silent story of labor under the hot Egyptian sun. When the foreman calls for a break, Shen gratefully drops his tools. He wipes the sweat from his brow, thankful for the small shade that his body provides against the relentless sun. Around him, the other workers sprawl on the ground, their bodies seeking the cool touch of the baked earth. Some doze off, their breathing slowing in the heat, while others share stories of daring robberies or boast of their feats in the annual donkey races. Shen, however, turns his gaze to the distant city of Thebes, where the river Nile is spanned by a causeway. A temple to Amenhotep, king of the gods, rises majestically at its center. Each stone in its construction is a prayer to the divine, each angle and curve a testament to the skill of human hands. And it is there, in that temple, that Shen hopes to one day rest his bones. Far from the scorching desert and the endless hauling of stones, as the hours drift by, the sun climbs higher in the sky, turning the desert into a shimmering sea of heat. The workers stir, stretching stiff limbs and wiping the sweat from their faces. It is time to return to the eternal dance of labor, to the rhythm of hammers and chisels, to the slow, steady progress that inches by inch is shaping the world. For these men, there is no glory in their labor, no grand monuments to bear their names. They are the nameless weavers of a civilization, their work both seen and unseen, their contributions both praised and forgotten. Yet they work on, driven by a deeper purpose, a need to create, to shape the world around them, to leave their mark on the face of eternity. In the flickering lamplight of an evening far from Shen and his fellow laborers, a young pharaoh named Akhenaten sits cross-legged on a low stool. His head is shaved, save for a single curl of dark hair that falls across his forehead. His eyes are sharp and intense, his gaze unwavering. He is alone, lost in thought, a small clay model of a solar boat resting on the ground before him. The year is 1350 BC, and Egypt's traditional gods have been banished from this pharaoh's heart. Akhenaten, formerly known as Amenhotep, was once a model prince, groomed for a life of luxury and godlike power. But something has shifted within him, a revolution born not of anger, but of quiet contemplation. Now he sees the gods not as distant rulers, but as part of the natural order, as forces to be respected, not feared. His heart, once filled with the traditional prayers and rituals, now beats to the rhythm of a single deity, the Aton, the sun disk that bathes the world in light. Akhenaten is a heretic and innovator, a man out of step with his time. He reigns alone, his wife and advisor, Nefertiti, the only person who shares his vision of a new Egypt. An Egypt where the old ways are abandoned and the Aten is worshipped as the one true god. In the dim glow of the setting sun, Akhenaten steps out onto the palace balcony. Below him, the capital city sprawls like a map of the world, its citizens going about their daily lives, their prayers directed towards the familiar gods. Akhenaten feels a pang of sadness, not for himself but for his people, for he knows that only he can show them the path to a better way. Of life, a life centered around the Aten, a life bathed in the light of the one true God. Our final scene takes us deep into the heart of the Egyptian underworld. We are in the shadowy realm of the dead, surrounded by the hushed whispers of spirits and the chill touch of the unseen. Before us lies the Book of the Dead, its pages filled with strange and mysterious symbols that hold the key to the afterlife. With gentle curiosity, we begin to decode its secrets, our breath catching in our throats as we uncover the spells and incantations that guide the soul on its perilous journey. One such passage speaks of a high priest named Ani, who lived a life of devotion and learning, mastering the sacred texts and rituals of his faith. As his time on earth drew to a close, he prepared diligently for the afterlife, knowing that his journey was far from over. With the help of his knowledge and the protection of the gods, Ani successfully navigated the underworld, passing through the Hall of Truth and crossing the scales of justice. Finally, he reached the Field of Reeds, paradise of lush vegetation and eternal springtime, where he could enjoy all the pleasures that life had denied him. But the Book of the Dead holds more than just tales of individual souls. It is a map of the underworld itself, guiding the living on how to help their loved ones find peace and ensuring that the dead are not forgotten. As we turn the final page, we feel a sense of peace and understanding wash over us. The mysteries of the afterlife may never be fully unveiled, but through the Book of the Dead we catch a glimpse of a world where death is not an ending but a beginning, where the soulless journey is a testament to the power of faith and the promise of a life beyond our own. Sure, and so our journey through ancient Egypt draws to a close. From the bustling streets of the capital to the peaceful fields of the afterlife, we have witnessed the grandeur and mystery of a civilization that continues to captivate us today. We've walked in the footsteps of limestone laborers, explored the heretical visions of Pharaoh Akhenaten, and decoded the cryptic wisdom of the Book of the Dead. Along the way, we've discovered that ancient Egypt was not just a land of towering pyramids and golden tombs, but a place where the divine was woven into the fabric of everyday life, where the pharaohs dreamed of immortality and the common folk sought solace in the mysteries of the afterlife. Now, as we emerge from the shadows of the past, we carry with us the echoes of a time long gone. The rhythmic pulse of labor, the haunting melody of Akhenaten's devotion, and the timeless wisdom of the Book of the Dead. May these echoes resonate within us, reminding us of the enduring power of the human spirit and the mysteries that lie at the heart of our existence. It's time to get to work. So the first thing you do is offer a prayer to the gods, some barley beer, and a chunk of bread. Today you pray for safe passage to the quarry and back, for the limestone blocks to be light in your arms, for the overseers to look away if you take a moment longer than usual for a smoke break. The gods have been good so far, so you trust that they will continue to be. You leave the village and walk toward the canal. Here it is. You stop for a moment to admire it. You have been traveling this route every day for months now, yet you never tire of its beauty. The canal is wide, deep, reflecting the sky above. The water is black and still. Surface is broken only by the white petals of lotus flowers drifting on the current.
Oh.
Along the bank grow papyrus plants, their long leaves rustling in the morning breeze. You have seen much in this place. Battles between Pharaoh and Libyan, the passing of ox, men crossing the canal on inflated skins, the body of a young woman who drowned and was left here by her family to decay. No one knows where she was going, why she walked into the water and didn't turn back. Maybe she wanted to join the water lilies at the bottom. Maybe she had lost her mind. Sometimes you think about her and wonder what it would feel like to not exist anymore. But then you remember the midday heat, the itch of insects, the nagging hunger that follows you everywhere you go, the endless cycle of work and sleep. Better to stay alive. Better to keep working. You have to. Someone is waiting for you to die. There are others walking toward the quarry too. Some are like you, hailing from the same village. Others are strangers, bearing the signs of distant lands. One man has skin like polished copper, another wears a linen loincloth and a necklace of strange, colorful stones. They all share one thing in common, though: calluses on their shoulders and arms, the mark of laborers everywhere. You pass a group of men, unloading a boat filled with limestone blocks. See how they strain and grunt? Their muscles bulge and strain against their tanned arms. Not your job to move the blocks to the boats. That requires more strength than you possess. Theirs is a dangerous job. Many of these men have lost fingers or even an eye while working the quarry. You tip your chin to them and they return your gesture. You are brothers in suffering. As you approach the quarry, the smell hits you first. Sweat, limestone, blood. Here it is, gaping and huge. The face of the quarry is sheer rock, a testament to countless years of patient erosion. When you first arrived, the opening looked smaller. Now it seems to mock you with its inscrutable depths. At the top, high above you, are the workers setting up the day's blast. Soon the whole face of the quarry will erupt in a thunderous roar as the workers clear out the loosened rocks. Those blasted rocks will soon be shaped into the walls of the temple. You hope the overseers won't notice if you hurry up and grab a few flat stones. If you can sell them in the market, you'll have enough money for a nice piece of fish. You walk into the quarry. Air grows cooler, damper here. It's always harder to breathe. Find a hammer and chisel and start to work. Limestone is softer than granite, but your hands still ache after hours of steady blows. In the distance, you hear the blast at the top. Men shout and run away as rocks come tumbling down. You duck and cover your head. When the dust settles, you resume your work. Then you see him. The overseer is standing at the edge of the quarry looking down at you. His eyes are cold, hard, like the limestone you chip away at. He is a foreigner. You can tell by his close-cropped hair and his clothes. He wears a kilt and sandals instead of the linen loincloth and leather sandals you wear. He raises his hand, palm out, and the other overseers around you stop their work and turn to you. He gestures for you and two of the other laborers to come closer. With stiff limbs, you climb the ladder to the edge of the quarry. The overseer gestures again, this time to a pile of rocks near the ladder. He throws a chisel and hammer to the ground and picks up a flat stone. You watch as he examines it carefully, tapping it with the stone like a carpenter testing a board. Then he looks up at you, his face impassive, turns to the pile of rocks again, taps another rock and throws it down. He looks back at you, waiting. You know what he wants? He wants you to smash those rocks into pieces. If you do it well, maybe he will take pity on you and allow you to keep a few pieces to sell in the city. But if you break a chisel or hammer or make a mistake in any way, the punishment will be swift and painful. With trembling hands, you pick up a hammer and try to steady your breath. You have done this before? You know that you must put all of your weight behind each swing? Your first blow connects solidly and bits of rock fly everywhere. The overseer nods slowly. Good. Keep going. You swing again and again, sweat dripping down your forehead, arms aching. The overseers watch you, their faces impassive, their eyes cold. When they approve of you, you will know because the tall one will nod once, twice, 3 times. That will mean you may go. At last you hear a sound that makes your heart leap with joy. The gong echoes across the desert sands, announcing the end of your workday. You drop your tools and rush to the ladder. As you climb, you can hear the overseer shouting at the workers below, cursing them for wasting time. You don't care. All you know is that you have survived another day. You have made the gods smile on you today. When you reach the top of the ladder, you pause to catch your breath and look back at the vast quarry. Then you turn and walk away from it, away from the village, away from the only life you have ever known. The sun beats down on you as you make your way to the temple site. Here, thousands of limestone blocks await. Workers are already moving them into place, lifting and twisting heavy blocks into the right positions, tying them together with ropes and wooden wedges. High above you, on the second story, are the priests. Their job is to ensure that the temple rises perfectly straight and true. Each block must be level, every angle correct. If the priests make a mistake, the entire temple could collapse. You've seen it happen before. One wrong angle, just one, and the whole structure comes crashing down. The priests are careful, but they also have the power of the gods on their side. If they fail, they can simply blame the will of the gods. No one questions the gods. As you enter the site, you pass a group of workers bringing a huge block into place. You pause to help them, pushing and pulling until the block slides into position. The workers thank you with tired smiles, and you return them. The temple is almost finished now. The limestone walls are complete, and the roof of reeds and cedar is taking shape. Only the final touches remain: the statues of the gods, the paintings on the walls, the decorations. The priests will finish it, and the people will come from all over Egypt to marvel at its beauty. You will be there among them, staring up at the roof, pretending to understand the rituals performed inside. It doesn't matter that you're illiterate. Everyone will pretend that you know what the priests are doing when they hold up the sacred vessel filled with the sacred water. Everyone will pretend that they know why the priests wave incense and chant endlessly. Everyone will pretend to understand the hieroglyphs carved on the door jambs. Everyone will pretend, except you. You will be the only one who understands the truth. We will be the only one who knows that the priests are afraid of making a single mistake. And when the Nile floods, and the temple stands firm and strong against the rising waters, you will know that you made it possible. A buzz of cicadas fills the air, a relentless drone that underscores the heavy thud of your footsteps. You join the others, walking in a slow procession toward the quarry. The air grows warmer with each step, heavier, more humid. The path is dusty, lined with stones and thorny shrubs that reach out like grasping claws. You clutch your tool, a wooden lever worn smooth from use, its surface as comforting as an old friend. Up ahead, the quarry looms, a gaping wound in the earth. The blocks of stone, pale, heavy, and unforgiving, wait. In the oppressive heat, their surfaces seem to shimmer, their immensity daunting. You exchange a few glances with your companions, silent words passing between you. No one speaks much these days. Most of the men keep their heads down, their gazes fixed on the path ahead. Some are older, their shoulders stooped, their steps faltering. Others are young, barely men, their faces still smooth, their eyes downcast. There are no smiles here, only grim determination. At the edge of the pit, a gang of workers already awaits your arrival, their movements precise and efficient. They guide the sledges laden with stone blocks into the shaft. With practiced ease, they direct the descent, ensuring the precious cargo reaches the bottom safely. There's a low rumble as the sledges hit the ground, a sound that echoes the weariness in your bones. You descend into the quarry, the air growing cooler, damp, the smell of ozone heavy. Reaching the bottom, you find yourself in a cavern of shadows. Even the noonday sun fails to penetrate this deep. Here, the silence is absolute, broken only by the drip, drip, drip of water seeping through the cracks in the rock. It's a silence that presses in on you, amplifying the weight of the task before you. The work is slow, methodical, backbreaking. You join a team of 4, each of you hefting a rope, your muscles straining with the effort. The sledges are too heavy to move on their own. First, you dampen the sand beneath them with water, reducing the friction, then inch by agonizing inch. You drag the blocks away from the wall. Each movement is a test of endurance, each breath a rasp in the dry air. Your muscles ache, protesting with every pull. The sun climbs higher, the heat intensifying. Beads of sweat trickle down your brow, mixing with dust on your skin. There is no shade here, no respite from the sun's relentless glare. The only relief, the occasional pause to drink from a shared clay vessel. Its contents lukewarm, its clay cracked, yet it holds precious water, a life-giving liquid that quenches your thirst and refreshes your parched throat. Around you, the other teams work in a similar rhythm, a symphony of controlled grunts and strained breaths. You steal glances at the overseers, their lean, muscular bodies seeming to glide through the heat haze. They carry staffs in their hands, their linen robes billowing around them. Eyes are sharp, their gaze unwavering, their attention seemingly focused on every movement, every twitch, every drop of sweat. Their records are meticulous, their memory flawless. Each block moved, each hour worked is noted, counted, registered. No mistake is too small to escape their notice. At midday, you rest. The overseer signaled the break with a sharp whistle, its shrill note echoing through the silent pit. You collapse against the nearest wall, your body heavy, your limbs leaden. Round you, the other workers do the same, forming a sea of weary bodies. For a few precious minutes, there is silence, a comfortable, companionable silence that speaks of shared hardship and quiet camaraderie. Then, as if a switch has been flipped, some of the men begin to speak, their voices raspy from disuse, their words hushed but animated. There is little laughter, only the exchange of tired jokes and the recounting of ancient stories. There's nothing like the feeling of a hot, sandy wind whipping through your hair, the taste of stale bread and sweat on your lips. Just another day in the life of an ancient Egyptian laborer. The sun beats down on your back as you haul another load of stone up the embankment. The temple of Karnak grows larger each day, but so does your weariness. Still, there is satisfaction in your aching muscles, a pride that warms you more than the noonday sun. For it is you who, with every grain of sweat, are building a monument to eternity. You sit beneath a makeshift canopy of woven reeds. The breeze is faint, but welcome. You eat another loaf. More onions. Yet more beer. You think of your family, your wife, your children. They are at home, grinding grain, fetching water, weaving cloth. Their lives are no easier than yours, but they understand. They know that your work is a sacred duty, that the pharaoh has chosen you to help build his eternal dwelling. The afternoon brings more hauling, more sweat, more sun. By evening, you return to the village. Your body is sore, your hands are calloused. But the temple has grown, if only slightly. And that is enough. You bathe in the canal, the water cool against your skin. You offer a prayer to Thoth, the god of wisdom, or perhaps to Ptah, the god of craftsmen. You light a small oil lamp and sit in silence. Stars begin to appear, faint and flickering, just like the flames. You wonder if the gods are watching you out there, if they too are making offerings of their own. Your life is not a glorious one. It is not easy. Every day is the same, a relentless cycle of toil and sweat. But it is steady. It is predictable. It is a rhythm carved into stone and sand, a song sung by the wind. You wake before the sun, as you always do. The river is your first consideration. You must cross it every morning, and today is no different. You wade into the water, letting it wash over your feet, the current tugging at your legs. You reach the other side and begin your day's work, hefting a hammer in your hand, its weight familiar and comforting. The quarry is busy today, but you have your spot. Your corner of the world where you chip away at the limestone, coaxing shapes into being. The air is filled with the ringing of hammers, the shouts of men, the screech of stone on stone. It is a symphony of labor, and you are its conductor. By midday, your arms are tired, your shoulders ache, but you take no break. You see no point to rest when there is work to be done, when the shadows lengthen and the day grows old. You leave the quarry behind, crossing the fields and walking the path to the temple. In the distance, you can hear the sound of hammers still ringing in your ears. As you approach the site, you see them gathered together, your fellow workers, waiting for the overseer's call, waiting for the day's labor to begin anew. You join them, a silent group of men, united in their purpose, bound together by the sweat of their brow. When the call is given, you move as one, taking your places, lifting your hammers high. The sun sinks lower in the sky, painting the clouds with hues of gold and crimson. The shadows stretch and distort, and you work on, oblivious to the beauty around you. As the last rays of sunlight fade from the sky, you lay down your tools. The day is done. You've built another inch of wall, another step of staircase, another block of progress. You turn toward home, the darkness welcoming you like an old friend. In the flickering lamplight, you eat your supper, the taste of onions and beer filling your mouth. You tell your wife of the day's work, of the challenges met, of the progress made. She listens, her fingers moving rhythmically as she weaves at her loom, her face etched with the lines of a life well lived. Later, when the children are asleep, you take up your sandals and go out into the night. The desert wind cools your skin, and you walk barefoot on the sand, the grain shifting beneath your feet. You walk on, past the sleeping village, past the familiar landmarks, until you reach the riverbank. There you sit, watching the moon rise over the water, its light shimmering on the waves. You are alone, yet you feel the presence of the gods all around you, in the wind, in the water, in the sand. You are part of this world, and this world is part of you. As the night grows old, you fall into a peaceful sleep. The grand temples of Amun fall silent. Their priests, stripped of power, watch in dismay. The sacred animals of other gods once paraded through the streets of Thebes are banished. Statues of old gods are defaced, their names erased. The hymns that once echoed through the halls of the palace are replaced by the soft glow of Aten's rays. It is a revolution of faith, a seismic shift that leaves nothing untouched. Even the city itself changes its name, leaving behind the ancient Thebes and becoming Amarna, meaning the border. For Akhenaten is creating a new capital, a physical manifestation of his religious revolution. And there in Amarna, on the edge of the known world, a new era dawns. But why? Why did Akhenaten break with tradition? What drove him to defy the gods and the priests? To answer these questions, we must look back to the beginning, to the days when this revolutionary pharaoh was still Amenhotep IV, heir to a vast empire. The kingdom of Egypt, by the time of Amenhotep's birth, had reached its zenith. The borders were secure. The treasury was full. The people, for the most part, lived in peace and prosperity. It was an age when pharaohs were considered divine, when they walked the earth as gods in human form. Young Amenhotep was next in line to inherit this mantle. His father, the pharaoh Akhenaten, who came before him, was known as the Wise One. He was a warrior king who expanded Egypt's borders and brought riches and captives back to Thebes. In fact, it was during his reign that Egypt first encountered the people of Canaan, an encounter that would forever change the course of Egyptian history. The Canaanites, a seafaring people from the Levant, brought with them new ideas, new goods, and most importantly, new gods. Among them was a deity named Aten, the sun disk. It wasn't a completely foreign concept to the Egyptians. They had, as I mentioned earlier, already had a sun god named Ra, often depicted as a falcon-headed man. But the Canaanite influence brought a new perspective, a new energy to this old belief. Young Amenhotep grew up in this melting pot of cultures, surrounded by the grandeur of the Egyptian court and the novelty of Canaanite customs. His mother, Queen Tai, was a strong-willed woman who played a key role in the royal court. She was the daughter of Yuya and Thuya, a middle-class couple who had risen to prominence due to their intelligence and ambition. This background gave her a unique perspective, one that was not solely focused on the rigid traditions of the court, but also open to the cultural exchanges taking place in Egypt. And it was under her influence that Amenhotep developed an interest in this new sun god, Aten. As Amenhotep grew, so did his fascination with Aten. The young prince began to see the appeal of this single, all-encompassing god, a god of light and warmth, a god who could be seen by all, who needed no priests or temples. It was a revolutionary concept in a society where religion was deeply ingrained in every aspect of life, where the old gods were venerated and the priests held immense power. But the seeds of change were sown in Amenhotep's mind. He began to question the old ways, to challenge the status quo. And this questioning would eventually lead him to make one of the most radical decisions in Egyptian history. A decision that would change his name, his religion, and ultimately his destiny. When his father died, Amenhotep ascended to the throne as Amenhotep IV. But the new pharaoh was not the same young man who had grown up in the shadow of his father. He was now Akhenaten, the heretic king. In the early years of his reign, Akhenaten was not yet fully committed to his new religion. He maintained the traditional polytheistic beliefs of Egypt, while also paying homage to Aten. But as time went on, his devotion to the sun disk grew, and he started to see himself as an instrument of Aten's will on earth. Akhenaten issued a series of decrees that shocked the nation. He stripped the priests of Ammon of their power and wealth. He moved the capital from Thebes to Amarna, and he elevated Aten to the status of the one true god. The traditional gods of Egypt, including Amen, Ra, and Ptah, were either ignored or demoted, and the worship of Aten became mandatory for all Egyptians. This religious revolution sent shockwaves throughout the empire. The priests of Amen, once the most powerful group in Egyptian society, were reduced to commoners. The artisans and scribes who had catered to their needs lost their livelihoods, and the peasants who had paid taxes to the temple lost their exemption from labor. However, this upheaval was not limited to the earthly realm. It also had profound implications for the afterlife. In traditional Egyptian beliefs, the pharaoh was considered a god-king who, after his death, would join the ranks of the gods and live on as a member of the pantheon. But Akhenaten rejected this belief as well. He declared that only Aten was worthy of such an honor, and that he himself, along with all other mortals, would simply become dust after death. This drastic shift in religious beliefs was not just a whim or a product of fanaticism. It was a deliberate choice, a conscious break from tradition aimed at creating a more egalitarian and accessible form of worship. Aten, unlike the old gods, was seen as a god for all, a god who demanded no intermediaries, no priests or temples. He was a god who could be seen and worshipped directly by his people. It was a radical concept that challenged the very foundations of Egyptian society, a society that was heavily dependent on the religious hierarchy for its social and political order. The revolution was met with resistance, of course. The priests of Amen, who had lost their power and wealth, plotted against the pharaoh. The people, who had always relied on the old gods for guidance and comfort, were confused and frightened. But Akhenaten was not deterred. He pressed ahead with his religious reforms, confident in his belief that he was doing the will of Aten. Akhenaten's religious revolution was not just about changing the way Egyptians worshipped, it was also about changing the way they lived. The old gods had become part of everyday life in Egypt. They were invoked at every important event, from the birth of a child to the coronation of a pharaoh. They were celebrated with festivals and rituals that had been repeated for centuries. But Akhenaten wanted to create a new way of life, a life centered around the worship of Aten, a life that was simpler, more direct, and more meaningful. To achieve this, he launched a massive propaganda campaign to promote the worship of Aten and demonize the old gods. Temples dedicated to Amen were destroyed, and their statues were defaced. The names of the old gods were erased from monuments and hymns, and the people were encouraged to abandon their traditional beliefs and embrace the new religion. It was a campaign that was relentless and pervasive, aimed at changing the very fabric of Egyptian society. And then there was Nefertiti, the beautiful queen, who became the embodiment of Akhenaten's religious revolution. Her bust, found in the ruins of Thebes, is one of the most iconic pieces of ancient art ever discovered. But she was more than just a beautiful face. She was a partner in the pharaoh's religious reforms, a supporter of Aten, and a symbol of the new Egypt. Together, Akhenaten and Nefertiti presented a united front. A pharaoh and his queen, hand in hand, leading their people towards a new way of life. Now, the story doesn't end here. Oh no, not by a long shot. The tale of Akhenaten, the heretic king, is far from over. There are more chapters to unfold, more twists and turns in the tale. Stay tuned if you want to hear the rest of the story.
Hey, we have more videos coming on Akhenaten and his legacy, so don't miss out.
Hey, click the subscribe button right now so that you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button. Your support means everything to us, so thank you. Until next time, remember, the story of Egypt is more than just a tale of kings and queens. It's a story of gods and pharaohs, of priests and prophets, of a civilization that changed the world. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep discovering the wonders of ancient Egypt. Thank you for watching. It's day 37 of 40 days of studying the masters. Today we're studying Akhenaten, a name synonymous with change. Want to join me? Let's do this one. The temples of Amen are closed, their priests dismissed. The statues of old gods are removed, their names scratched from walls. A new capital is built, Takataten, the horizon of the Aten. Far from Thebes, far from tradition. A city of open courtyards and sunlit altars. No dark sanctuaries, no hidden idols. Imagine walking through Akhenaten. Streets are wide, the buildings low. The city is designed to embrace the sun. Reliefs show Akhenaten and his queen Nefertiti, bathed in rays from the Aten, their hands lifted in quiet reverence. There are no scenes of war, no depictions of conquest, only family, devotion, and light. But beneath this serenity, there is unease. The old priesthood is resentful. The people are confused. The gods they have worshipped for centuries are gone, and Akhenaten, increasingly isolated, retreats into his vision. His body grows frail, his features more exaggerated. Some say he suffered from illness. Others believe he was simply consumed by his beliefs. His reign lasts 17 years, and then, quietly, it ends. So this is the story I want to tell about Akhenaten. He builds a new city, discards the old religion, and renames himself and his wife after the sun god. But as I prepared to study him, I realized that his story is more than a tale of a heretic king. It's also a study in perspective, in how we frame stories and how we let our biases shape those stories. Because you might know Akhenaten as the man who destroyed Egypt. And there is some truth to that. Under his rule, Thebes lost its prominence. Its craftsmen were scattered. Its artisans took up farming. But you might also know him as the enlightened despot who embraced monotheism before it reached the Jews and Christians. And that story has its merits too. But neither story is complete. So today I want to try something different. I want to explore the story of Akhenaten from the point of view of someone who lived in his time, someone who watched this radical pharaoh reshape Egypt and saw their world turned upside down. So imagine, if you will, that you are an Egyptian living in Amarna during the reign of Akhenaten. How might your life look? Where would you live? What would you see around you? That's what we're going to spend the next few minutes exploring. Your city's Akhenaten. You may not have been born here. You may have come from Thebes or Luxor. but Akhenaten is your home now. It, a city built from the ground up to be unlike any other city Egypt has ever seen. Your house isn't much like the palaces we've seen either. Sure, there are some nice houses, especially near the king's palace, but most are simple structures made of sun-dried mud brick, whitewashed and flat-roofed. They have open courtyards where you can sit with friends and family. Maybe you have a small altar in your courtyard where you can worship the Aten. Every house has access to running water. Canals bring water into the city and carry waste away. This is a planned city, orderly and clean, where the streets are laid out in grids and officials of the crown make sure everything stays neat. In fact, you just saw a group of inspectors go by. They're making sure everyone is abiding by the laws of the king. You heard them shout at a craftsman for letting his mortar dry too hard. Soon the whole street will have to be torn up and relaid. Those inspectors are there to enforce the king's vision, the vision of a city that worships only the Aten and nothing else. Maybe you remember when the king first came to town. You weren't an eyewitness to that, of course, but you've heard the stories. When he arrived, there were no great processions, no fanfare, just a small convoy carrying the royal family and a few attendants. He sent the generals back to Thebes and told them to stay there until he called for them. He dismissed the priests and shut the temples. Then he started to build this city. The king had a strange way of doing things. You may have heard him called a heretic or even a madman. You might even agree with that, but you know he's a good man too. He cares deeply for his people. He works tirelessly for the good of Egypt. The sun god chose him to be his vizier, his agent on earth. You know that. Because every morning you watch him perform his ritual in the sunrise. You see, when the Aten shines over the horizon each morning, the king walks to the north wall of his palace. There, high above the city, is a window cut into the masonry so that the sun can shine through. Does. The king raises his hands and prays. He's alone, but later you join him, and so do your neighbors. Together, you raise your arms and praise the one true God, the Aten, the sun god, who brings light and warmth and life. After that, you head home, eager to start your day. The king's priests may have outlawed the old gods, but you still have your crafts, your garden, your family. Life goes on, but there are changes everywhere. The old religion is gone, and with it, many of your neighbors' livelihoods. Those families could take care of themselves. But what about the temple prostitutes? Who will look after them? Or the scribes who copied sacred texts? What will become of them? You don't have the answers, but you notice the king is building schools for the children of Egypt, teaching them new ways of thinking, ways that might just prepare them for life in this new Egypt. You've heard him speak of the coming golden age, a time of peace, when Egypt will be a beacon of justice and righteousness for all the world. Maybe you believe him, maybe you don't. You don't really understand the theology, but you appreciate the ideals, the beauty of the king's vision. As you walk toward the center of the city, you pass a school and watch children skip rope and play games while they recite hymns to the Aten. It's a beautiful day, and you smile, feeling grateful that the weather is so fine. You look up to the sky, clear and cloudless, stretching on forever. You turn away, realizing that the sun god doesn't care whether or not you worship him. He's here whether you acknowledge him or not. So you focus instead on the life here in the city. A procession is winding its way through the central avenue. You move to the side of the road to let it pass. The officials ride in a chariot drawn by 4 horses, maybe more. There are servants running alongside to hold back the crowds. You watch them go by, knowing that these people are important. You don't know much about them, but you do know that they enforce the king's laws, and the king's laws keep you safe. Now, as you continue on your way, you realize that you're hungry, need to get home and feed your children. Maybe you stop at a bakery to pick up some bread for your family. The baker smiles at you. You think he's nervous? Think he's afraid of displeasing the king? You think he misses Thebes too? You do too. Sometimes, but then you remember why you left. The king is trying to make a better Egypt. You know he means well, even if you don't always understand what he's doing. Still, you wish the old ways were still a part of this new Egypt. You miss the familiar rituals, the old gods. Maybe you even miss the chaos of Thebes. But you shake off these thoughts. You have to be strong for your children's sake. You have to show them that they can trust their king. As you walk home, you see a family gathered outside. The father's brother just returned from the south. He's been traveling to Nubia to get gold for the king. Family is angry. They say the king's obsession with the sun god has put their entire economy in peril. They're right, but what can you do? You don't know. You're just a humble scribe. You're not important. You can't change the king's mind. All you can do is try to get by. You reach your house and step inside. It's cool and dark. You close the door and draw the reed blinds. You can hear the children playing outside. You smile, glad that they're happy. Then you hear a crash, and the children's laughter stops. You hurry to the window and peek out. The inspector again, he just broke the pottery of a neighbor who wasn't properly sealed. Your stomach twists, but you know there's nothing you can do. So you return to your work, praying that the sun god will bless your family. Says Akhenaten, the heretic king. Who was he really? We may never know. The archaeological record is incomplete and biased too. The elitist priests of Thebes demonized him and erased his memory from the historical record wherever they could. But the evidence shows us that he was a visionary leader who wanted to forge a new path for Egypt, a new religion, a new capital, a new way of life. Whether he succeeded or failed, we can learn a lot from him, about ourselves and about being storytellers. Akhenaten's story shows us how easy it is to lose sight of the forest for the trees. When we see Akhenaten, we tend to see a zealot, a tyrant, a madman. But when we zoom out, we can see that he was also a man with a dream of a better world. Let us hope that we can all be a little bit more like him and a little less like his successors. All right, class, that's our time for today. Remember, you can find a link to the full res images in the description below. And if you want to support the channel directly, you can join my wonderful patrons. The link is in the description for that too. Until next time, remember, you are all stars. Go out there and shine. Egyptology buffs will know all about this guy. Akhenaten, the heretic pharaoh, died around 3,000 years ago. His royal city was quickly abandoned. The old gods returned and a new pharaoh took the throne, Tutankhamun, who soon changed his name to Tutankhamun, restored the worship of Amun, and erased his predecessor's legacy. Akhenaten was forgotten. His statues were buried, his name omitted from king lists, and his city left to crumble beneath the desert wind. But the traces remain. In broken reliefs, in sunlit ruins, in the quiet mystery of a man who dared to believe in something different. And now, as the light fades from Akhenaten, we turn to another mystery, one not of kings but of spells and symbols. Let us walk slowly into the realm of the dead. This is the Hall of the Gods, the place where Akhenaten and his family came to worship the Aten. It's also the closest thing to a tomb that they have. See, they weren't buried in the traditional Egyptian manner. There's no great pyramid or hypogeum for any of them. Instead, they're entombed in this single shaft, crammed together in a single room at the end of it. Before we go further, though, let me tell you about a discovery made in these very rooms by Howard Carter in 1922. He found a small collection of astraca in what was probably the storeroom for this temple. These are pieces of pottery with markings on them, and the markings are of a religious nature. Some seem to be incantations or parts of prayers. Others seem to be instructions for religious ceremonies. And still others are simply lists of the gods being invoked. It's important to note that these are from the time when Akhenaten first came to power, so they predate his full switch to monotheism. They also come from a place where one would expect to find only the Aten. Yet these astraca suggest otherwise. Could this be evidence that Akhenaten didn't totally abandon polytheism when he became monotheistic? Or could it be evidence that he was more tolerant of other religions than we think? Maybe. It's certainly interesting, but there's more. One of the astraca has a drawing on it, a little sketch of a god holding an ankh over a water plant. This may not seem like much, but it's important. You see, the ankh is a symbol of life in Egyptian culture, and the water plant was sacred to the god Osiris. Osiris is the god of the underworld, the judge of the dead. He's the supreme god in Egyptian mythology, at least until Akhenaten came along. So what does this little sketch mean? Is it evidence that Osiris was still being worshipped in Akhenaten's capital? Maybe. Is it evidence that Akhenaten himself still had some belief in Osiris? Perhaps. Yeah. What's clear is that whatever religious practices were taking place here, they weren't solely focused on the Aten. But that's enough speculation. We have another mystery to solve. Who was buried here? This room contains 3 burials, or rather 2.5. The main burial is that of Queen Tai. She was the wife of Akhenaten and the mother of their 6 daughters. She was an intelligent woman and a shrewd politician who played an important role during her husband's reign. Her burial is lavish, even by royal standards. Her sarcophagus is made of red granite, the same kind used for the Great Pyramids. Her coffin is covered in gold leaf and precious stones. Her mummy was probably adorned with funerary makeup, although it's impossible to tell now because it's so decayed. Beside her is the burial of another woman. This is a lesser queen, probably one of Akhenaten's many wives. Her sarcophagus is smaller and simpler, but she's still buried with many treasures, including a necklace made of pure gold. And then there's the mystery. There's a third sarcophagus here, but it's empty. Well, actually, it's not empty. Inside is a pile of bones. These are the remains of a young boy, a child who lived 3,000 years ago and died before he was 10 years old. The question is, whose bones are these? We know from the historical records that Akhenaten and his wife T had 6 daughters but no sons. So who was this boy? Was he a prince who died before his father? Was he a servant of the royal family? Was he someone else entirely? It's impossible to say. All we know is that he died around the year 1330 BC, and that his body was placed in this tomb, far from his home and loved ones. Whatever the reason for his burial here, it's clear that he was important to someone. His sarcophagus is made of the finest granite, and his coffin is lined with gold. He was probably buried with many treasures, although they've been lost to history. As for the other occupants of this room, they met slightly less pleasant fates. Akhenaten's mummy was defaced after his death, probably by those who opposed his religious reforms. Queen Ti's mummy was used as a target for archers, but it survived intact. The lesser queen was forgotten about until Howard Carter rediscovered her tomb in 1922. So who was she? The answer, like so many things in Egyptology, is that we don't know. This is all that remains of her. Her name is lost to history. Even her title is unknown. All we know is that she was a queen and that she died 3,000 years ago. But maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe the most important thing about her is that she reminds us that even the greatest pharaohs had ordinary lives. Just like us, they fell in love, got married, and had children. Just like us, they experienced loss and grief. Just like us, they left this world without knowing it would one day be forgotten. Let us now leave behind the sunlit courtyards of Akhenaten and step quietly into the realm of shadows, not a place of fear, but of reverence, not a place of endings, but of transition. The ancient Egyptians did not see death as a finality. It was a passage, a journey, a continuation of the soul's rhythm, guided by spells, symbols, and sacred words. And at the heart of this journey lay a text fluid, evolving, and deeply personal. The Book of the Dead. It was not a book in the modern sense. There was no single version, no fixed canon. Instead, it was a collection of spells, prayers, incantations written on papyrus, painted on tomb walls, etched into coffins. Each version tailored to the individual, shaped by their status, beliefs, and hopes. The scribe works slowly, deliberately, copying sacred texts with practiced hands. Each symbol carries weight. Each line must be perfect. His eyes are focused, his brow furrowed in concentration. The Book of the Dead is his life's work, his legacy. With every stroke of his pen, he ensures the safe passage of his patron's soul. He is creating a roadmap for the journey after death, a guide to help the deceased navigate the perilous underworld and reach the blissful afterlife. Each spell is a step, each prayer a plea, for protection, for wisdom, for strength. The papyrus before him is not just a sheet of paper. It is a lifeline to eternity, and as he writes, he imbues it with power, with magic. He is weaving a tapestry of words and symbols, a shield against the darkness that might threaten to engulf the soul. This is more than a job. This is a vocation. The scribe is a conduit between the living and the dead, a link in the chain that connects the world of the mortals with the mysteries of the afterlife. He is not just copying words. He is channeling the voices of the gods, the wisdom of the ancients, the hopes of the dying. But who is this scribe? What drives him? What motivates him to spend his days in the quiet solitude of his workshop, his nights poring over ancient texts? Is it a thirst for knowledge, a passion for his craft, or something more? Perhaps it is the desire to ensure his own place in the afterlife, to secure the safety of his soul. Or maybe it is the call of duty, the obligation to preserve the traditions of a dying age. Whatever his reasons, one thing is certain: his work is vital, his purpose singular. The Book of the Dead is not a static artifact. It is a living, breathing thing that evolves with each passing generation. New spells are added, old ones are removed. Some are written in hieratic script, others in demotic. Some are meant to be read aloud, others are whispered. Some are colorful and vibrant, while others are stark and severe. But all of them serve the same purpose. They guide the soul through the underworld and into the afterlife. For the ancient Egyptians, death was not the end. It was a beginning, a transition to a different form of existence. The Book of the Dead was their guidebook for that journey. It was a collection of spells and rituals designed to help the deceased navigate the perils of the underworld and reach the blissful afterlife. But the Book of the Dead was not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. It was tailored to the individual, reflecting their status, beliefs, and hopes. The spells and rituals were chosen and arranged according to the needs of the deceased and the wishes of the living. The wealthier members of society could afford elaborate copies of the book, often containing hundreds of spells and written on expensive papyrus. The poor, on the other hand, might only have access to a few basic spells, perhaps inscribed on a piece of wood or pottery. Some versions of the Book of the Dead were meant to be read aloud by priests or family members. Others were designed to be kept in the tomb with the deceased. Some were filled with colorful illustrations depicting scenes from Egyptian mythology and the journey through the underworld. Others were more austere, with little or no decoration. But regardless of the style or content, all versions of the Book of the Dead served the same essential function. It provided a roadmap for the journey after death. The ancient Egyptians believed that after a person died, their soul continued on a journey that was fraught with peril. The soul had to traverse the underworld, a dangerous and unpredictable realm that was ruled by a variety of gods and demons. Along the way, it had to face a number of tests and challenges, such as the weighing of the heart ceremony, in which the deceased's heart was weighed against the feather of truth. Only if the heart was found to be pure could the soul move on to the field of reeds, the blissful afterlife reserved for the righteous. The Book of the Dead provided the necessary tools to help the soul navigate this journey. It contained spells and rituals that were designed to protect the deceased from harm, guide them on their path, and ensure their eventual arrival in the field of reeds. These spells were not mere incantations. They were powerful tools that were meant to be used with precision and care. Each word and symbol was carefully chosen and arranged to create a specific effect. One of the most important aspects of the Book of the Dead was the inclusion of the heart-soothing spell, which was designed to calm the soul and prevent it from being scattered or destroyed. Another important feature was the use of protective spells, which were meant to shield the soul from the dangers of the underworld, such as the scorching heat of the sun god Ra or the attacks of malevolent demons. These spells often took the form of amulets or charms that were placed on or near the body of the deceased. In addition to these practical spells, the Book of the Dead also contained a number of funerary prayers and hymns that were designed to honor the gods and ensure their favor. These prayers were not only meant to appease the gods, but also to express the love and devotion of the living for the dead. They were a way of showing respect and paying homage to the deceased, as well as a means of securing their safe passage to the afterlife. The Book of the Dead was not a static text, but rather an evolving collection of spells and rituals that changed and adapted over time. New spells were added, old ones were removed or revised, and the order of the spells could vary depending on the needs of the individual. This flexibility allowed the book to serve the needs of a wide range of people, from pharaohs to peasants. One of the most famous examples of the Book of the Dead is the Papyrus of Ani, which is currently housed in the British Museum. This papyrus contains a particularly vivid example of an Egyptian funeral procession, complete with a detailed depiction of the deceased being led by a guide through the underworld. Other notable examples include the Leiden Papyrus, which is known for its beautiful illustrations, and the Turin King List, which contains a number of unique and previously unknown spells. While the Book of the Dead is no longer in use today, its influence can still be seen in modern literature, art, and film. The journey through the underworld and the concept of the field of reeds have captured the imagination of writers and filmmakers for centuries, and the spells and rituals of the Book of the Dead continue to fascinate those who study ancient Egyptian culture. The ancient Egyptians believed that death was not the end, but a transition to another form of existence. The Book of the Dead was their guidebook for that journey. a collection of spells and rituals designed to help the deceased navigate the perils of the underworld and reach the blissful afterlife. Tailored to the individual, the book evolved over time, adapting to the needs of a changing society. Though no longer in use, its influence can still be seen today, a testament to the enduring power of ancient Egyptian culture. And so our journey through the heart of ancient Egypt continues. We have explored the grand palaces of the pharaohs and the secrets of their tombs. Now we have delved into the shadowy realm of the underworld, where the dead are guided by the power of words and the wisdom of the ancients. Remember, this is just one stop on our tour through time. There are countless other stories waiting to be discovered. If you have enjoyed this glimpse into the world of the Book of the Dead, I invite you to join me on our channel. Together, we will explore the hidden histories that shape our world, uncovering the secrets of ancient civilizations and the mysteries of the human past. So come with me now, traveler, and let us continue our journey through time. Who knows what wonders and mysteries await us in the annals of history? Join us on our channel and be a part of the adventure. These spells come from the Book of the Dead, a collection of funerary texts used by ancient Egyptians during the final journey. A guidebook for the soul to navigate the duat, the underworld. Our first spell is a general instruction for passing any of the gates that the dead might encounter. It begins with an invocation of the god of the underworld, a prayer to Osiris who rules over the duat. And then there's an instruction for the soul to remember its name. Why would the soul need to know its name? Because if the soul forgets its name, it cannot pass through the duat. It also has no identity. So the first step of your preparation for death: write down your name. Keep it with you always. When you are called upon to speak, you must say, "I am so-and-so, child of such and such, son or daughter of such and such." Repeat your name 3 times, and then you may proceed. When the dead approach a gate, they must call out to the guardian and ask to be let through. The guardian will demand payment, an offering. You can pay with gold or with incense or with food, whatever the guardian desires. But the book also instructs you to flatter the gatekeeper. Tell him you love him. Tell him you adore him. Tell him how strong he is, how handsome he is, how great. Flattery gets you everywhere, even in the duat. And when you finally reach the field of reeds, the hall of truth, the book warns of a deadly trap. The ground is covered with lotuses, beautiful flowers that the dead are told to avoid. For these are not simple flowers. They are the eyes of the goddess Nephthys. If you step on them, she will be very angry. Instead, the book says to walk around the lotuses in a circle until you reach the place where you can sit down. Give spells to ensure the heart does not betray the soul. At the final judgment, the heart is placed on a scale, balanced against the feather of Mat, truth, justice, cosmic order. If your heart is light, you pass. It is heavy, you are devoured by Ammit, the soul eater. But the Book of the Dead offers spells to protect you, words to speak, names to invoke, truths to declare. I have not stolen, I have not lied. I have not caused pain. These are the confessions, not of guilt, but of purity. A declaration of a life lived in harmony with Mat. The imagery is rich. There's one particularly vivid spell that instructs the dead to transform themselves into a bird, a baboon or an ibis, to drink water from a magical lake, and to breathe the air of a divine necropolis. With each breath, the dead become lighter. Their sins float away like dust. And once they are pure, they can finally enter the field of reeds, a paradise that awaits the righteous dead. They will live with the gods, free from pain, free from sorrow, free from the fear of death itself. We have spells for all sorts of transformations. The dead can change into a lotus flower, 30 cubits high, its blossom like the sun, its roots like gold. This spell is particularly striking because it emphasizes the dead person's connection to the divine. They become a living god, immortal, unassailable, perfect. They can also transform into Ra, the sun god himself, sailing across the sky in his solar bark. Or they can become Anubis, the guide of souls, wearing his distinctive cloak and carrying his crook and flail. There are even spells to turn into a mummy, to wrap oneself in linen bandages, to become like a pharaoh, to be preserved for eternity. The imagery in these spells is incredibly powerful, full of light and color and life. Despite their macabre subject matter, there's a strange comfort in knowing that death was once thought of as a journey, a transition, an adventure. We may fear death, but we can also embrace it, not as an end, but as a beginning. This is an ancient Egyptian tomb. Here is the entrance. And just beyond the entrance is the burial chamber where the coffin rested. And here is what it looked like 4,000 years ago. The walls would have been brilliantly painted, but centuries of neglect and a few careless visitors have defaced them. What was once a place of beauty and hope is now a tourist trap. But if you look closely, you can still make out some of the paintings. Fragments of scenes from the Book of the Dead. Fields of reeds where the blessed dead live in peace, where the souls of the righteous feast and dance and are purified. Boats sailing across celestial waters, guided by the stars, carrying the soul towards the underworld and the hall of final judgment. Gods with animal heads, each one representing a force of nature, a principle of existence, a god of the underworld. Anubis, with his human body and jackal head, guides the soul. Wepwat, a dog-headed god, protects it. A baboon-headed god, Thoth, the ibis or baboon god, records the deeds of the living and the dead. There are hundreds of such vignettes in the Book of the Dead, each one more fantastical than the last. But what do they all mean? Who are these gods? What are they doing? How are they helping the dead? And why do we find such scenes in a book? To answer these questions, we must first look at the bigger picture. The Book of the Dead is not just a book. It's a collection of texts, spells, prayers, hymns, incantations meant to help the dead on their journey through the underworld. The soul is not alone. It is guided, prepared, but the text is not limited to the afterlife. It also reflects life, the fears, the hopes, the values of a civilization that saw the divine in every moment. It is a record of everything an Egyptian knew and believed about the world around him. The Book of the Dead tells us how the Egyptians kept their distance from death, how they tried to cheat it, how they coped with it. In the beginning, there were no books, only papyrus scrolls. The earliest versions date back to around 2300 BC. That's roughly when the cult of Osiris took off. He was the god of the underworld. His wife Isis was the ultimate mother goddess. Their son Horus represented the new pharaoh. Together, they formed a powerful triad that explained the mysteries of death, rebirth, and kingship. The Egyptians believed that after someone died, their soul had to travel through the underworld and be judged by the gods. If the soul was pure, it could then enjoy eternal happiness in the field of reeds. Otherwise, it would wander the earth as a ghost, doomed to wander for eternity. So the Egyptians did everything they could to ensure that their loved ones would reach the field of reeds. They built elaborate tombs, placed offerings and food and drink, and most importantly, they buried them with copies of the Book of the Dead. This ensured that the dead person would have everything they needed to get through the journey safely. It may seem strange to us today, but the Egyptians really believed that this journey was possible. They thought that the soul could actually travel to the afterlife and be reborn into a new body. They also believed that the dead could hear and see what was going on around them, so they would often leave messages for them. These messages were usually written in the form of spells or prayers, and they were designed to help the dead person on their journey. Some of the most common prayers asked the gods to protect the dead person from evil spirits, while others begged them to help guide the dead person through the underworld. There were even some prayers that were specifically designed to help the dead person pass the test of the Hall of Truth. This was a final judgment that took place at the end of the journey, where the dead person's heart was weighed against the feather of justice. If the heart was pure, they were allowed to enter the field of reeds, but if it was impure, they were thrown into the fire and their soul was destroyed. Now let's return to our tomb. Imagine yourself as a newly deceased Egyptian official. You have just died and your body has been placed in this tomb. The Book of the Dead is placed on your chest. Your soul is now on its journey through the underworld. It will take 40 days to complete the journey, and during this time, your soul will face many challenges. But thanks to the Book of the Dead, your soul will be prepared for what lies ahead. It will know what to say to the gods and what to do when it reaches the field of reeds. After 40 days, your soul will be judged, and if it is pure, it will spend the rest of eternity in the field of reeds, and all because of this humble book. Every year, millions of tourists visit the pyramids and other ancient Egyptian sites, but few realize that the Egyptians had a much deeper understanding of the universe than we do. For the Egyptians, death was not the end. It was just another step on the journey of the soul. And thanks to the Book of the Dead, we can still learn from their wisdom today. The walls are painted with scenes from the Book of the Dead. The colors are faded but still visible. A procession of gods. A boat sailing through stars. The deceased arms raised, speaking the sacred words. The air is cool. The silence deep. You stand there not as a visitor, but as a witness. To a belief system that stretched across centuries. To a people who saw death not as an end, but as a transformation. To a text that whispered comfort, guidance, and hope. And now, as the last spell fades into silence, we turn to our final chapter. Let us step into the tomb of a high priest. A place of gold, of incense, of quiet power. The Book of the Dead is not a book at all, but a collection of spells and incantations meant to guide the deceased through the perilous journey to the afterlife. It's a window into a world where death was not an ending, but a transition. Where the soul's journey was not a voyage into darkness, but a passage into light. This final chapter belongs to a high priest. His name, like many things in this vast necropolis, is lost to time. But his rank is evident in the opulence of his tomb. In this chamber of secrets, amidst the faded paintings and hieroglyphics, we find the remnants of a life deeply intertwined with the mysteries of the afterlife. The walls around us are adorned with vibrant scenes, each telling a part of the story that never truly ends. There he is, our high priest, not as an old man shriveled by years, but as a young man brimming with life, his youthful vigor a testament to a vitality that transcended even death. He stands before the gods, his hands raised in eternal supplication, his gaze fixed on the divine. Behind him, a procession of gods, their forms both familiar and enigmatic, their presence a source of comfort and guidance in the face of the unknown. But it is the boat sailing through the stars that truly captures the essence of this journey. The boat, a symbol of the soul's passage, navigating the celestial waters towards the realm of the dead. The oarsmen tirelessly propelling the vessel forward, ensuring the safe passage of their divine passenger. Above them, the stars, not as distant lights, but as guiding constellations, each twinkled path leading the way to the afterlife. In the center of this celestial voyage stands Ra, the sun god, his fiery presence illuminating the darkness, dispelling the shadows that might threaten to consume. His light, a beacon of hope, reminding the traveler that even in the darkest depths, divinity shines through. And then there is the offering table, laden with the provisions for the journey. Food and drink, symbolic nourishment for the soul's arduous trek. Incense, wafting its sweet aroma to appease the gods and guide the spirits. Each offering a tangible expression of love, respect, and unwavering devotion. It is a beautiful, haunting scene, one that speaks of a time when death was not feared, but embraced as a natural part of life's cycle. A time when the journey of the soul was not seen as a voyage into oblivion, but as a passage into eternity. As we stand here, surrounded by the echoes of a civilization long gone, we cannot help but feel a sense of awe. Awe at the human spirit's unyielding quest to understand the mysteries of life and death. To find meaning in the darkness and to seek solace in the face of the inevitable. We are but visitors in this subterranean kingdom, yet we are welcomed as honored guests. For the Book of the Dead, with its myriad voices, its diverse spells, and its comforting promises, offers us a glimpse into a world where death is not an ending, but a beginning of a new journey, a new understanding, a new life. And so as we close this final chapter, let us do so with a sense of peace, knowing that the eternal voyage has reached its destination, knowing that the restless soul has found its final resting place, knowing that the cycle is complete. The Book of the Dead has revealed its secrets, and now it is up to us to carry its wisdom into the light. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the Book of the Dead. If you enjoyed this experience, please don't hesitate to show your support. Your support means the world to me and helps me continue creating these immersive journeys for you. Until next time, may your days be filled with light, and may your journey through life be guided by wisdom and understanding. This is a museum now, silent and empty. But imagine it filled with priests chanting, incense rising, shadows stretching long in the flickering lamplight. What do they see as they move through these chambers? What did you leave behind in death, High Priest? What stories does your tomb tell? Welcome to the tomb of an Egyptian high priest. Join me as we step back in time. Let the secrets of this final resting place unfold before us. The entrance to the tomb is unassuming, just a small opening in the rock face. But what lies within is a testament to the power and prestige of the priesthood in ancient Egypt. We descend into darkness, the cool air of the subterranean chambers enveloping us like a second skin. The faint smell of dust and decay mingles with the sweet aroma of the desert night. As our eyes adjust to the gloom, we begin to make out the paintings on the walls, figures emerging from the darkness like old friends returning to greet us. But who was this high priest? His name, though lost to time, might have been something like Thutmose, like many others. He wasn't born into power. His lineage wasn't royal. He didn't rise through the ranks of the military or amass wealth as a merchant. No, his path was a different one of study, service, and unwavering devotion. He chose the life of a priest, dedicating himself to the gods, poring over sacred texts, learning the intricacies of rituals, studying the stars and training his successors. He lived a life of quiet power. When we think of ancient Egypt, images of pharaohs come to mind, larger-than-life rulers whose names echoed through eternity. But it was the priests who kept the wheels of religion turning. They were the scholars, the record-keepers, the mediators between the divine and the mortal. And the high priest, he stood at the very summit of this pyramid of devotion. He was the embodiment of the priesthood, its hopes, its wisdom, and its influence. As we venture deeper into the tomb, we begin to understand the extent of his power. The burial chamber isn't opulent, but it's not austere either. It's simple, yet elegant, much like the man who rests here. The sarcophagus is made of granite, not gold-leafed or adorned with precious stones, but solid, enduring, a fitting monument for a man who dedicated his life to the eternal. On top of the sarcophagus, there's a small shrine, an altar to the dead priest's personal god, a constant reminder of the divine presence even in death. The walls around us are a gallery of his life and work. There are scenes from his funeral, a procession winding its way to the temple, the body carried on a bier, priests chanting, mourners weeping, family members offering prayers. And there are scenes from his afterlife, banquets in the field of reeds, offerings to the gods, the heart being weighed against the feather of justice, and finally peace. These paintings aren't just decorative, they're a guide to the soul of the deceased, helping him on his journey into the great beyond. There are also scenes from his life, the harvest festival, a time of joy and plenty, a reminder of the bounty of the Nile and the gods' favor. The procession to the sacred lake, priests carrying ritual instruments, their figures slender, their steps measured, their heads held high. The sacred boat, a symbol of the sun's journey across the sky. A reminder of the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth. And everywhere, the lotus flower, a symbol of rebirth, a reminder of the priest's own journey into the afterlife. Some tombs were places of opulence, a reflection of the wealth and power of the pharaohs who built them. Others were more modest, a simple stone hut, a hole dug into the hillside. But all tombs had one thing in common, a reflection of the beliefs of the society that created them. And what beliefs were more important than those concerning the afterlife? For the Egyptians, death was not an ending, but a transition. The journey of the soul did not end at the grave, but just begun. The tomb was not a place of mourning, but a gateway to the next world. The high priest's tomb is a microcosm of this belief. It's a place of preparation, a place of transition, and ultimately, a place of hope. At the back of the burial chamber, there's an inscription carved into the wall, a prayer to the gods, a petition for protection, a promise of devotion. It's a reminder of the priest's lifelong commitment to his faith, a commitment that did not end with death. The inscription is faded, the paint is peeling, but the spirit of the high priest lingers. He lives on in the words he carved so carefully, in the paintings that adorn his tomb, in the rituals that his successors will continue. We are drawn to the center of the room where a single shaft of sunlight pierces the gloom, illuminating a spot on the floor where offerings would have been made. Here, in this small circle of light, we can almost hear the murmur of voices, the clink of vessels, the scent of incense. We can almost see the high priest standing before us, his face obscured by the darkness. His form tall and imposing, his presence commanding respect and awe. His legacy lives on in the hushed whispers of the priests in the temple. In the rustling of papyrus, as scribes copy ancient texts, in the murmur of the Nile as it flows towards the sea. In the heart of Egypt, amidst the bustling bazaars and the towering pyramids, there is a place of quiet contemplation. Here, amidst the scent of incense and the murmur of prayers, we catch a glimpse of a world that was a world of priests and pharaohs, of gods and phantasmal beings. A world where the river of life flowed eternally, carrying souls to the field of reeds and beyond. A world where the sun god Ra sailed his celestial bark each day, bringing light and warmth to the grateful earth. A world where the goddess Isis, with her healing powers, soothed the pain of the living and the dead. Here, in this oasis of tranquility, we meet the high priest, his face etched with the wisdom of countless rituals, his eyes reflecting the light of eternal wisdom. He is the keeper of ancient lore, the interpreter of divine will, the link between the earthly realm and the celestial one. As we listen to his words, we feel the weight of tradition settling upon us, the burden and the privilege of preserving a legacy that stretches back to the dawn of time. The high priest speaks of a time when the pharaoh was God, when the king's power was believed to be a divine endowment, a mandate from the gods themselves. He tells us of the pyramids that pierce the heavens, monuments to immortality, and of the pharaohs who rest within them, entombed with their treasures and their dreams of everlasting life. He speaks of the artisans and scribes, the architects and farmers, the merchants and soldiers, the ordinary people who made up the fabric of ancient Egyptian society. He brings to life a world where the Nile River was the source of life, and where the annual floods brought not only bounty, but also challenges. He tells us of the triumphs and the struggles, the innovations and the adaptations that characterize this ancient civilization. And then he shifts his gaze to the eternal realm, the land of the dead, where the soul-less journey continued even after the body had returned to dust. He describes the underworld as a place of both peril and promise, where the deceased had to navigate treacherous paths and face terrifying creatures to reach the field of reeds, the blissful abode of the righteous. Throughout his tale, the high priest weaves in the myths and legends that colored the beliefs of ancient Egyptians. He speaks of gods and goddesses who walked among humans, who intervened in their affairs, and sometimes assumed human form. He describes the Book of the Dead, the collection of spells and incantations that guided the dead on their journey, and the weighing of the heart ceremony, where the deceased's heart was judged to ensure its eternal peace. As he speaks, we are transported to a time when magic and religion were intertwined, when the line between the seen and the unseen was thin, when the priests were not just religious leaders, but also scholars, doctors, and record keepers. As the high priest finishes his tale, we are left with a profound sense of the richness and complexity of ancient Egyptian culture. It was a world of grandeur and spirituality, of innovation and tradition, of both earthly concerns and otherworldly pursuits. As the last notes of the ritual fade away and the temple falls silent, we are left to contemplate the mysteries of a world long gone. The high priest's words echo in our ears, and we carry with us the scent of incense and the memory of a time when gods walked among mortals. Now, if you wish to further explore the secrets of ancient Egypt, don't forget to visit our other videos. Thanks for watching, and until next time. The entrance is modest, carved into the bedrock that surrounds it, barely noticeable unless you were looking for it. Thieves have never found this tomb. Right. It is hidden from them by spells of secrecy and the fact that it's carved into the side of a mountain. Inside, though, lies a world of symbolism. Statues of gods stand watch, intricately carved from wood and gilded with shimmering gold leaf. Canopic jars rest in their niches, their lids shaped like the deities that protect them, each one watching over you as you pass. At the center of the room sits a sarcophagus, a final resting place for your body until it is judged in the afterlife. Its lid is inscribed with ancient prayers. They twist and turn, guiding your soul through the underworld, helping you to navigate its dangerous paths. There are scrolls here, too, hundreds of feet of papyrus texts, some containing spells taken directly from the Book of the Dead. but also hymns and invocations to other gods and records of your service to them. They will ensure your protection. Amulets hang from the walls, rows upon rows of scarabs, ankhs, and eyes of Horus, each one placed with care, each one meant to shield you as you travel through the Duat, the underworld. But you are not alone. Servants and possessions are laid to rest beside you, ready to serve you in the next world, just as they did in this one. Weapons rest against the wall, still sharp, still deadly, ready to defend you if you need it. Furniture fills the chamber, chests, tables, chairs, all crafted from the finest wood, inlaid with precious stones, all meant to ease your passage through the underworld. Here in the Duat, you must be judged. You must be pure. You've always known this. You more than anyone understand the importance of the rituals, the prayers, the offerings. You have performed these rituals for others. You have helped countless souls find peace and move on to the field of reeds. Now it is your turn. Let us imagine the funeral procession. A priest walks slowly behind the bier, his staff tapping lightly against the stone floor. His linen kilt flows behind him, dragging in the dust. He chants softly, the words of power echoing around you, driving back the darkness, keeping the chaos of the Duat at bay. Behind him come mourners, their heads shaved, their bodies painted in the traditional colors of mourning. They carry offerings for your journey, flowers and fruit, incense and wine, food and drink, all laid out on a golden altar. The musicians follow, their voices blending together in a slow, repetitive melody. Some play end flutes, their simple songs driving away evil spirits. Others strike the strings of a lyre, plucking out solemn notes that soothe the savage beasts of the underworld. Before you, the body of the deceased is carried on a raised platform, wrapped in layers of fine linen. Each fold is accompanied by a prayer, a whisper of power meant to protect the soul within and keep it safe on its journey. More oils are poured, more names are spoken, more prayers are chanted. Then the platform is lowered into the open mouth of the tomb, and the entrance is sealed shut. Centuries pass. The tomb is undisturbed. Nothing moves except the shadows cast by the flickering torches on the walls. But outside, the desert wind blows, carrying with it the scent of blooming lotus and the sound of temple bells. It whistles through the cracks in the masonry, weaving tales of the underworld in the field of reeds. The scent of incense lingers in the air, mingling with the sweet aroma of flowers. The light from the torches dances, casting flickering shadows on the walls, hiding and revealing the treasures within. It is quiet here, peaceful even, but for the gentle murmur of the wind and the distant call of a bird, the silence is broken only by the soft whisper of linen as it is carefully folded around the body. The scent of lotus flowers mingles with the musky odor of embalming materials. The flickering light of the torch dances across the walls, hiding and revealing the treasures within. The process begins with washing the body, removing every trace of the mortal world, every blemish, every wound, every sign of life. The body is then anointed with fragrant oils, each one blessed by the priests. They use special tools to remove any remaining imperfections, scrape by scrape, polish by polish, until the skin is as smooth as the finest alabaster. The body is then wrapped in layers of fine linen, each fold a prayer, each fold a blessing, each fold a step closer to the field of reeds. As the linen is applied, the body is placed on a bier, a raised platform made of wood or stone, decorated with intricate carvings. It is carried in a procession through the streets of the city, accompanied by chanting priests and mournful relatives. The bier is eventually placed inside the tomb, lowered into the open mouth of the earth, and raised again. As the entrance is sealed, the procession disperses, leaving the dead in peace. In the tomb, the body rests, surrounded by the gifts and treasures meant to sustain it on its journey. The air is thick with the smell of incense and flowers, the light from the torches flickering across the walls, hiding and revealing the treasures within. The silence is broken only by the soft whisper of the linen as it is carefully folded around the body. But the work is not yet done. For even in death, there are dangers. Evil spirits may try to claim the body, dragging it down into the underworld. That's why the tomb is filled with protective magic, spells and prayers carved into the walls, amulets hung from the ceiling. The body is surrounded by offerings, food and drink, incense and flowers, all meant to appease the evil spirits and ensure the safe passage of the soul. The tomb is sealed, hidden from the world. Only the sky above and the sand below mark its resting place. Inside, the body awaits the judgment of the gods, awaiting its final passage into the field of reeds. But let us imagine what happens next. After centuries, someone finds the entrance to your tomb. A modern archaeologist. He brushes away the sand, revealing the carved doorway. With a grunt, he steps inside, bringing with him the scent of the modern world, the smell of gasoline and leather. He shines a flashlight around, taking in the riches before him. He runs his fingers over the cool surface of a statue, marveling at the skill of the long-dead craftsman. He reads the inscriptions on the walls, trying to decipher the ancient words. He carefully steps over the threshold, crunching on the sand beneath his boots, entering the inner sanctum. There, on the sarcophagus, he sees a name. It is your name. But how did he find your tomb? How did he know to look here? Perhaps it was a dream, a vision in the night that led him to this place. Or maybe it was just luck. Maybe he was simply in the right place at the right time. He opens the sarcophagus and steps inside. The air is thick with the smell of dust and decay. The only sound is the beating of his own heart. He looks around, taking in the riches that surround him. He reaches out and touches a wall covered with hieroglyphics. They seem to shimmer before his eyes, and for a moment he can see the figures moving. The colors are bright, the sounds are clear. He shivers, pulling his hand away quickly. He does not want to disturb whatever magic is at work here. He walks deeper into the tomb, past statues of gods and pharaohs, until he reaches the innermost chamber. There, on an altar, he finds a small box. It is made of cedar wood, inlaid with silver and gold. On the lid is an inscription that reads, "Open me not unless you wish to die." He pauses, considering whether he should heed the warning, but curiosity gets the better of him and he opens the box. Inside, he finds a scroll made of papyrus. It is covered with hieroglyphic writing, and as he unrolls it, he can feel the power emanating from it. This is no ordinary scroll. It is a spell book, and as he reads the words aloud, he can feel the magic coursing through him. He continues reading, and the words seem to burn into his mind. He knows now why he came here. He knows now what he must do. He finishes the incantation, and as the last word leaves his lips, the world around him begins to shake. The walls are closing in, the ceiling is falling, and he knows that he has just unleashed a power that he cannot control. The tomb is crumbling around him, and he can do nothing to stop it. The weight of the collapsing masonry crushes him, and he feels himself being pulled into the darkness. He tries to scream, but no sound comes out. He struggles to free himself, but it is no use. He is trapped, and then everything goes black. The tomb collapses, sealing its secrets within. The desert wind blows, carrying with it the scent of blooming lotus and the sound of temple bells. The sun beats down on the sand, hiding the entrance to the tomb once more. All is silent, all is still. Sand drifts across the entrance. The world changes. Dynasties rise and fall, but within this place remains untouched. A capsule of belief, a monument to a life lived in service to the divine. You stand there now, not as a visitor, but as a quiet observer. You feel the weight of time, the depth of devotion, the stillness of eternity. And as the incense fades, and as the last flicker of lamplight dims, we prepare to return. To leave behind the tomb, the temple, the quarry, and the palace, to step gently out of history and into rest. When you first arrived, the world was full of sound, the chatter of visitors, the calls to prayer from the minarets nearby. But as the day wore on, the crowds departed, leaving you in blessed solitude. The only sounds now are the soft whisper of the wind, the gentle murmur of a nearby stream, the distant call of a bird. It is a symphony of tranquility, a lullaby of ages past. You have journeyed far, not just in miles, but in time as well. For within these ancient walls, you have witnessed centuries unfold. The rise and fall of empires, the ebb and flow of human fortune, the endless cycle of birth and rebirth. All of it has happened before your very eyes, yet you remain unchanged, timeless, eternal. The river of time keeps flowing, carrying with it the sands of ages. New eras will dawn, new stories will be written, but your story, your moment of truth, it remains here, preserved in the stillness of this place. It is a precious jewel in the crown of time, a silent testament to the grandeur of existence. And as the final rays of sunlight touch the ancient stones, as the shadows lengthen and the day sighs into evening, you know it's time to go. You have lingered long enough. It is now time to return, to leave behind the whispers of eternity, to step away from the river of time, to close this chapter in your journey. But as you turn to go, you pause for one last look. The tomb, the temple, the quarry, and the palace, they stand as silent sentinels at the edge of your vision. Beyond them, the horizon stretches, promising new adventures, new discoveries, new moments of wonder. The world awaits, and you, traveler, are ready to explore its endless mysteries. For you have rested here, and in that stillness, you have found the strength and wisdom to continue on your way. We invite you to a journey through the sands of time, to experience a day in the life of ancient Egyptians. Today is just one day in a much longer story. A story that begins with the creation of the world and continues even until today. But if you want to understand this story, you must begin at the beginning. So here it is, an invitation to walk in the footsteps of our ancestors and discover how they lived, loved, lost, and left their mark on the world. This is more than a trip through the past. It's a chance to see how the very foundations of society were laid, how ancient Egyptians made sense of their place in the cosmos, and how their achievements continue to shape our world today. If you accept this invitation, you will see what pharaohs really meant, how priests influenced daily life, and how ordinary people live their everyday lives. You will see everything, hear everything, and experience everything, just like an ancient Egyptian. You are about to embark on an incredible adventure. So join us and get ready to uncover the secrets of one of the most fascinating civilizations in human history. The sun has risen over the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and gold. Another day in ancient Egypt has begun. You awaken in a small village on the Nile Delta. The year is 2500 BC, and you are an ordinary ancient Egyptian. Your day will be filled with hard work and simple pleasures, just like any other day. You wake up before sunrise and immediately go outside to greet the new day. As the son of a farmer, you know that every moment counts. The Nile has flooded your fields and the crops are growing well. Soon your family will have enough food to eat, and there will be extra grain to sell in the market. That would make Ra, the sun god, very happy. After all, it was his life force that sustained your fields and brought forth the harvest. You wash yourself in the Nile and put on a simple linen garment. Breakfast is a simple affair. Barley bread dipped in beer and onions from the fields. It's not much, but it's enough to keep your hunger at bay. Then it's time to start work. You grab your hoe and head out to the fields with your father and brothers. The work is hard, but the sun is warm and the company is good. You chat and joke with your fellow workers as you tend to the crops. It's not uncommon for young men to talk about their dreams for the future. Some want to become scribes, while others aspire to be artists or craftsmen. There are even rumors of a great city being built further down the Nile, a city that will be the center of trade and culture. Who knows? Maybe one day you'll get the chance to visit it. As the hours pass, you feel a sense of satisfaction knowing that you are part of something bigger than yourself. The prosperity of your village depends on the crops you plant and tend to. It's a responsibility you take seriously. The midday heat is intense, so you take a break to rest and eat some fruit. The sweet taste of dates or figs always brings a smile to your face. It's a small pleasure, but it's a welcome distraction from the hard work. The afternoon brings a new burst of energy, and you return to work with renewed vigor. As the sun begins its slow descent, you finish your work in the fields and head home. The sight of your mother waiting for you at the door fills you with joy. She has prepared a simple meal of stew and vegetables, and you eat with your family. Sharing stories of your day and catching up on each other's lives, family is important to you, and you cherish these moments of togetherness. After dinner, it's time for more work. Your father needs your help to mend a broken plow or repair a fishing boat. You might also have chores around the house, such as fetching water from the Nile or tending to your family's small garden. For young men, there may be the opportunity to help a local craftsman, learning a trade that could provide income and status in the community. As the evening shadows grow long, you gather with your friends to play games and tell stories. Music fills the air, and you dance under the stars, celebrating life and the simple joys it brings. It's not uncommon for groups of young men to discuss the tales of daring adventure told by travelers who have roamed beyond the known world. Legends of far-off lands and mythical creatures fill their imaginations and inspire dreams of far-off adventures. As the night deepens, it's time to rest. You sleep next to your brother on a mat in your parents' home. The warmth of his body is comforting, and you drift off to sleep. Lulled by the sounds of the village and the gentle breeze from the Nile, your dreams are filled with images from the day, the golden light of the sun, the lush green fields, and the smiling faces of your family and friends. You awake feeling refreshed and ready for a new day in the life of an ancient Egyptian. In the bustling city of Thebes, the rhythm of life is faster. Here, the streets are crowded with merchants, artisans, and government officials going about their daily business. The air is filled with the sounds of commerce and the chatter of 1,000 different languages. You awaken in your home, a small courtyard surrounded by rooms and servants attending to your every need. Life as a scribe is comfortable, but it comes with great responsibility. You wash yourself in a basin and put on a linen shirt and a kilt. A scribe's work is an important one. You are responsible for recording the deeds of your pharaoh and keeping the records of the kingdom. But first, it's time for breakfast. Dates, figs, and bread are laid out before you, along with a jug of fine wine. You eat slowly, savoring the flavors and planning out your day. You leave your home and take your seat on the bench outside. As the sun rises, you read through the records from the previous day, checking for any errors or omissions. Every scribe knows that accuracy is of the utmost importance. Mistakes can have serious consequences and damage the reputation of both the scribe and the pharaoh they serve. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, you meet with other scribes to discuss upcoming projects. One of your colleagues has discovered a new type of papyrus that is both durable and lightweight. Another has developed a system for organizing records that is faster and more efficient. Scribe is a profession that values knowledge and innovation. You are always looking for ways to improve your craft and serve the kingdom better. The midday heat is intense, so you take a break to rest in the shade of a palm tree. You dip your quill in ink and write down some poetry, a favorite pastime of many scribes. The words flow from your pen and onto the papyrus, capturing the beauty of the world around you. As the afternoon progresses, you meet with a delegation from the treasury. They need your help to keep track of the kingdom's revenue and expenses. Using your knowledge of mathematics and accounting, you help them balance the books and prepare for the upcoming tax season. Being a scribe is not just about writing. It's about using your skills to serve the kingdom and keep its records in order. You take your responsibilities seriously, but you also find satisfaction in knowing that you are playing an important role in the government. As the sun sets, you return home and wash yourself in preparation for dinner. Your servants bring in dishes of roasted meats, fresh fruits, and fine wines from around the kingdom. You eat slowly, enjoying the flavors and discussing the events of the day with your family. After dinner, you retire to your courtyard and sit on a stone bench. The night is cool, and the stars are shining brightly. You reach for your harp and begin to play. The music fills the courtyard and carries on the evening breeze. It's a peaceful end to a busy day, and you feel grateful for the simple pleasures of life. Thebes is a city of culture and art, and you are fortunate to live in a time when the pharaoh is sponsoring great works of literature, painting, and music. You may attend performances of musicians or actors, view paintings of scenes from everyday life, or listen to poets recite their latest works. The city is also home to several temples where you can worship the gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt. The most popular are those dedicated to Ra, the sun god, Osiris, the god of the underworld, and Horus, the god of kingship. Priests are highly respected members of society and play a vital role in daily life. Their duties include leading religious ceremonies, advising the pharaoh on matters of religion, and performing rituals to ensure the favor of the gods. Your day begins early with the sunrise. You rise and wash yourself in the temple's sacred waters, preparing for the day's rituals. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, you lead prayers and incantations, calling upon the gods to bless the worshippers and protect the kingdom. You oversee the construction of tombs for the pharaohs and other members of the royal family. These tombs are not just places of burial, but are designed to be the pharaoh's final residence, complete with all the luxury and grandeur they enjoyed in life. You advise the pharaoh on matters of religion and the best way to honor the gods and goddesses. You may also accompany the pharaoh on military campaigns, offering guidance and protection to the soldiers. You play a key role in maintaining order and stability in the kingdom, ensuring that the pharaoh's power and the gods' favor remains strong. Life as a priest is not without its challenges. There are times when the gods seem distant and the pharaoh's whims are harsh. But you remain steadfast in your duty, knowing that you play a vital role in the kingdom's prosperity and the afterlife of its people. You are a keeper of knowledge and tradition, and you take your role as a priest very seriously. But even in the midst of your busy schedule, you find time for the finer things in life. You enjoy the taste of spiced wine and the smell of incense filling the temple. You appreciate the beauty of the hieroglyphics you paint on the tomb walls and the sound of the priests chanting echoing through the halls. You are a humble servant of the gods, but you also recognize the importance of your position in society. You are respected and revered by the people, and you strive to live up to their expectations. As the sun sets over the horizon, you look back on a day well spent. You have served the gods, helped the pharaoh, and brought comfort to the people. And as you prepare for bed, you feel a sense of satisfaction and pride in all that you have accomplished. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of ancient Egyptians. We hope you have enjoyed experiencing just one day in the life of these fascinating people. Remember to stay tuned for more exciting adventures. And until then, keep exploring the world and all its wonders. Goodbye.